Hey everybody, Craig from Yes Have Some here. Wanted to start off with a little show note. You'll hear me during the episode talk about a really cool thing that the Ghostbusters Containment Unit autograph group on Facebook is doing with production artist Jack Johnson. Now, Jack is a production artist that worked on Ghostbusters 2, and they are selling for the first time some of his exclusive prints, never before seen artwork from Ghostbusters 2. You'll hear me talk about it on the podcast. Now, here's what I want you to do. After the episode is done, stay on the line, keep listening, because we have an exclusive interview with Jack that I sat in with our buddies Matt and Tom from the Ghostbusters Containment Unit. It's about an hour conversation with Jack Johnson about his career, Ghostbusters 2, fun stories that he had working on Goonies and Beetlejuice and all sorts of other movies. We're kind of including that as a little bonus, so stay tuned. We got the regular episode coming up right now with Jake, Abigail, and myself, and then right after that, we'll have the interview with Jack, and those prints are now available. We're going to talk about it here in just a few minutes. Let's get the show on the road, as they say. This is Yes Have Some Podcast.
I don't want to grow up, Mom. Do you want some?
Jurassic Park. Now playing the fifth episode.
Ecto goggles with Ecto Bomber, neutron blaster, and water zapper, each sold separately.
From the corner penthouse of Spook Central all the way to Star Killer Base, this is Yes Have Some Podcast.
You like? Yes, have some. Yes, have some.
You know, they told me you people were conceited douchebags.
The only place in the multiverse where you can love the book, hate the movie, but still buy all the toys.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
What?
Please remember to hold on to your butts and get ready to get stressed. With your hosts, Craig Goldberg, Abigail Gardner, and Jacob Walsh.
All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome to Yes Have Some Podcast. My name is Craig Goldberg. We are recording this at 2 in the morning.
What?
5 in the afternoon. I don't know what time it is. I've lost all track of time and day and month and year, but that's fine. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I feel good.
I feel great. I feel wonderful.
You can talk to the microphone?
Yeah, I'm planning on it.
What we're gonna do after 5 years of this, we're gonna do microphone training.
Are we gonna give the people a mic test?
We are.
Test 1, 2.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yes Have Some Podcast. My name is Craig Goldberg. I am here with Abigail Gardner.
What's up, guys? Speaking into the microphone.
Thank you. Jacob Walsh. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going?
Guys, I'm even recording
Squid
it.
brain.
First try I'm recording.
You didn't. This isn't a fake out. Like we invest 15 minutes of great content and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So we all get to call each other out in the beginning of this episode. I like that.
Well, we're all gonna shit on each other for a few
Cool.
minutes. I got a lot of problems with you people.
Yeah. Thanks for the notes.
Good.
Yeah. No, they really helped.
Jake, man, how are you, dude?
I'm fine, dude. I'm, just like working and trying to buy Ghostbuster toys and
Trying to.
I found a couple of the plasma series. I found 3 of them at the Target, and they only had 3, and I was like, oh, does that mean somebody already got the rest? And then like I bought those 3 and left, and then like the next day somebody sent me a picture from our local Target, and they had the other 3, and I was like, but they bought them, so I'm like, God, what the fuck?
Dude, that's like so it's almost like one of those like a pendant that's broken in half, and like you have half and the other person has half.
Yeah, we have like a friendship collection.
Like a best friend necklace. Cool.
I was wondering why I saw that picture of Jake wearing 3 Minton Box Plasma Series figures on a necklace.
That'd be cute.
I thought that was kind of weird.
I wear that necklace.
Yeah, Ghostbuster stuff is happening here and there.
That's one of the dangers of having a podcast where you know the people that live near you and we all collect the same stuff. Sometimes things get snatched up.
I bet there's not a group of people in the world that gets texted pictures of the inside of Walmart and Target more than us. Like that's mostly what people send.
Maybe the people who work at Walmart and Target and have to set the stores up. Possibly, but
yeah.
Jake,
what do you have a plan to get the other Plasma Series figures?
I'm just gonna keep checking Target and see if they restock. I'm not in a I guess I could order them if I want to, but I'm not. I'll either find them or I won't.
It's funny. I had pre-ordered them all from Hasbro Pulse when they first went on sale, and then I ended up finding them in Target. But my plan was, got to have one in the box, one loose. Did you guys see Ray Esposito, good friend of ours, who I love Ray.
Yeah,
He's a great guy. Talking to him, and he posted a group therapy. He got his Plasma Series figures from Hasbro Pulse. They were all shipped in individual boxes, so he had 6 boxes sitting on his front porch.
Well, I saw that. First, I thought it was like 6 cases or something, and I was like, I was like, Ray, what did you do, Ray? But I didn't realize it was just individual.
That's funny.
It's pretty cool.
What did you do, Ray? Well, he's got like 5 kids, so maybe he got a case for each kid. I don't know.
He got one for each kid.
I like having them individually wrapped. It looks like you got more in the mail.
It's all about aesthetics.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, we'll get started. We are going to be talking about the Bill and Ted Face the Music trailer here in a little bit. I know we've got some opinions. We should have had Zach. Zach Myers has been messaging me. Good friend of the show. He loves Bill and Ted like some people love pizza or their kids. All right. Good talk.
Good talk about Zach Myers.
I love Zach.
Yeah. Well, why don't we get him on the show?
I feel like if we had Zach on the show, he would talk only in like Dumb and Dumber quotes, though. It'd be something. Anyways. All right, cool. It's not a surprise guest, I promise. Shout out to everybody in group therapy. We've been having some fun in there lately. We do have some new bonus episodes that we're going to be dropping on Patreon, so keep an eye out for that. We've been doing the eBay hangs every week. They've been a lot of fun. We're not going to have one this week. Taking the week off. I need a breather.
Yeah,
Abby, what do you think?
My wallet needs a breather.
You don't have a wallet.
No, I don't. I definitely have enjoyed them, but yeah, let's build the momentum, take a little break off, and then we'll be back at it maybe next week.
Yep. And YHS listener, longtime listener, Zach Crago sent us a care package in the mail. Jake, we haven't got you your stuff yet, but we're holding on to it for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're holding on to it.
Okay.
We'll see you soon.
We're holding it hostage for you. Lots of good stuff in there. He sent me these Back to the Future, the old McDonald's toys, and I didn't have those. I'm very excited about that. My Back to the
Those
Future,
are cool. Yeah.
They're very cool, but my Back to the Future collection sucks, and now it sucks a little bit less, but it's not great. Fake fan.
No, you just added the Pepsi Perfect.
I did. I finally re-got it.
Yeah, and we just watched Back to the Future 2 this week.
I did.
I feel like you're doing pretty good. Maybe you shouldn't be so hard on yourself.
I should. That's
the only way your collection grows is you look at a shelf and you're like, man, this sucks.
Well, yeah, that's what we talked about with Jake this week. Like when you don't go in your toy room for a while and then you walk in there and you start like seeing like gaps you need to fill, or Jake, you talked about you picked up like a new Godzilla figure too, and you said stuff was kind of like lining the floor and it was getting you a little stressed out.
Yeah, well, I bought during the quarantine, I bought some Trendmasters Godzilla 98 figures, and they've just kind of been sitting in there. And then I got some of the Kenner collection, classic Kenner stuff, just sitting in there. I got one of the NECA Godzillas that I was missing, just some random stuff. And then I went out of town this past weekend, ended up at a toy store in which I bought an in-package. It's from the Lost World. It's like a raptor. It's this game. It's kind of like God, what is that robot game where you're like punching
Rock'em
robot.
Sock'em
Rock'em Sock'em punching robots.
Yeah.
There's like a Jurassic Park game that's similar to that, and I already owned it, but I bought it again because the box is really cool. Right. So I bought that, and then I bought like an in package. I think the Ecto 3.
Oh, cool.
The Ghostbusters Ecto 3, and it's all just kind of sitting in the middle of a clean toy room, just on the floor because I haven't made space for any of it yet.
I wish they would have made a Jurassic Park Rock'em Sock'em robots with Dennis Nedry and John Hammond.
Oh,
yeah. So they could settle their differences.
Yeah.
You've got butterfingers? Terrible impression. Hey, did you see they're re-releasing?
Good idea, though.
They're re-releasing the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive John Hammond in like a multi-pack from last year.
It's like a 4-pack. There's like 2 Raptors, Ellie, Hammond, and then the When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth banner.
It's like a banner. That's cool.
Cute. Yeah.
That's cool.
I love banners.
All stuff you can still get except for the the banner. It's the only new thing.
God, I'm gonna have to get it for that day. I've always wanted a small version of that giant banner. It's one thing I've been thinking of.
banner.
Well, cool. So a couple things I wanted to talk about right off the top. Our good buddy John Yerkeba had an art auction a couple days ago on what was supposed to be Ghostbusters Day, auctioning off original pieces in support of a couple different foundations for Black Lives Matter. He sold it all.
Yeah.
It's not available, so I don't even know why I'm talking about it.
No thanks to us. We were only there for the beginning.
Yes.
We had
Did you just
something
bring
to do.
this up to brag about John Yerkeba?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Personal friend.
Hey guys, if you guys feel like going back in time, you can bid on this artwork that's just gone. You can't even see it, so just
And Abby just completely dropped her microphone.
Can I just hold it like I'm doing stand up?
No, you can't.
It's way easier for me because then I can lean back. No.
If you can do some stand up about. Don't do it. All right, cool. Professional audio people.
Super profesh.
Okay, cool. So congratulations to John. Congratulations to everybody who got a couple pieces of art. Apparently, the Extreme Ghostbusters Slimer was the hit, which is great because that's kind of like you wouldn't think.
Yeah. It was a cool setting. He hung out with everybody and chatted. It was a cool space. We were there for the beginning, and I'm happy he sold his stuff. It's very cool.
Another thing, our good buddies Tom and Matt, who run the GB Containment unit. This is so funny. This was not on the original notes, and I can see in Abby's face that she's very concerned that I'm going off script.
You don't know me.
I know. They are working with production artist Jack Johnson. You guys probably saw us posting about this. They're selling these never before released images, like these amazing prints from Ghostbusters 2, including the original version of the fettuccinis, a really cool firehouse print, a really cool kind of like sketch style of the inside of the restoration room at the museum, the art museum, and then the old river of slime down there in the God, I can't even think what it's called. The train station. You know, you've seen the film. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, they're incredible prints. We're super excited about it. Got a chance to talk to Jack. He's a really great guy. He's worked on a ton of good movies. Those are available at the GB Containment Unit Facebook page. But what I want to ask you guys, Jake, you're an art connoisseur. What do you feel when you see stuff from Ghostbusters 2 that you've never seen before?
Oh man, I mean, it feels cool. Like it's like, one of your favorite movies and seeing concept art, especially like I think my favorite one was the firehouse, just seeing it like all shut down and then I mean it's like stuff that doesn't quite make it into the movie, so it's really cool to see that stuff, man. I'm always a big fan of like production art and that stuff's cool.
Yeah, rare stuff like that coming out of something that you thought you'd seen everything from. Basically, it's very exciting.
Yeah,
I agree.
You'll notice that.
Yeah, how is it possible? Like it feels weird because it's like, how is it even possible that there's stuff you haven't seen after 30 years? Like, where's it been? It's 30 years, no one's seen it. 30 years it hasn't popped out somewhere.
Yeah, I'm mad. I'm not even gonna buy any because I'm mad that I didn't see it earlier.
I'm annoyed about it.
Yeah, I'm mad that it wasn't available earlier.
Yeah.
I really like those. I like the firehouse. I like the fettuccinis. It's really cool to see kind of the direction they were going in. It's cool that Oscar, that's a different baby. That's not the Oscar for the movie at all. That's a fake. That's a phony.
Yeah,
but
the
I want
face
it.
is different. But yeah, it makes it something that you need because it's like a variant. It's cool.
Variant Oscar. There was actually triplets. That was the third baby with the dark hair. Okay. A lot of people don't know that. So congratulations to those guys. If you want to check out those prints, they're linked on the Yes Have Some page, and you can find it at the Facebook page for the GB Containment Unit. Great autograph group, total pros. They're going to take care of you over there. Cool. Another thank you. YHS listener Brendan Pierce has taken my YHS, not my YHS, what is it? My Draw Slimer winning art, my award-winning piece from 1989 that I seem to bring up every 2 months. He's brought it to life with a modern style. We're going to probably put that on a t-shirt. So thanks to Brendan for sending that over. I posted it in group therapy and everybody's like, we want this. This is a shirt. Put it on a shirt. So we're going to put it on a shirt. Then you can put your money where your mouth is. Let's see how many of those bad boys we sell.
Yeah, it's a much nicer artistic realization of what you did as a kid. So it really pops. It's like a refined
We're going to go through all those comments, and everybody who said put it on a shirt. If you don't buy a shirt, then you're going to get kicked out of group therapy.
Yeah, obviously. I did like that he included the lines from my lined paper.
Yeah.
Well, that's the most important part, I think.
I think a lot of people think that I was just like some dumb kid who used lined paper, but that was actually like, I was kind of part of like an underground art movement at the time.
No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I thought you imagined that was part of Slimer's makeup.
He's like part John Belushi, part
Intrinsic.
lines, me lined paper.
Yeah, you just have to look deeper into it.
So thank you to Brendan for that. Also cool that people are listening in Australia.
Yeah.
That's a whole.
Oh, dang.
That's far away.
tight.
And cool. Also, last week we had Trevor and Randy from NECA on the show. Talked toys. I don't think they're going to be doing any Independence toy figures anytime soon.
You don't think? Not Twister fans. That's one thing that we garnered from that entire conversation.
Yeah.
They're awesome. But
They were great.
No
They were
Twister
awesome.
toys.
So thank you to them. And they, go back and check out the interview. A lot of new Turtle stuff is hitting. Jake, did you see they are again re-releasing the TMNT movie figures now as 2-packs?
I did. Maybe I'll get them this time. Like maybe I keep like putting those off because I have the whatever the 18-inch figures or whatever. So I'm like, I don't need the what are they 6 inch 9 inch
7
whatever
inch, yeah.
7 inch. I'm always kind of putting it off because I was like, well, I'm gonna get the big ones and then that's it. But now that the Toka and Razar are coming out and everything, like I guess I'll buy them.
Well, that's why they do it. So like it's there. Let
they do it too. Yeah, you're right.
Well, they do it because like they want people to continue collecting the line. And obviously some people start at the beginning, but you might have somebody who's not even a big toy collector walking through the store and sees Toka and Razar and is like, well, that's great, but I can't get the turtles. But then if you got the turtles sitting there, you've gone from no sale to they're spending $200.
You're talking about bundling.
Easy.
And that's what people do it. Yeah.
So you're going to be able to get those figures again, which is great. That's great for people who didn't get them the first time around.
Great.
They're great. They're phenomenal.
They look amazing. Yeah.
Best action figures of all time. So thanks to the guys from NECA. I'm sure we'll have them back on. And we didn't get to talk a lot about Godzilla, kaiju, monsters, or anything like that. But a couple days after that, NECA revealed their first ever King Kong. I think it's their first King Kong. Jake, is this their first King Kong?
It's their first King Kong, and it's actually not like it's kind of not really specifically based on any King Kong. It's just like their version of King Kong. But if you look at it, it is very, very heavily inspired by the like 1933. It looks a lot like the original King Kong. They also like I don't know. This is probably not something NECA wanted out there right away, but I've noticed in a couple of the Godzilla pages that I frequent. There have been sightings of 2 new NECA Godzilla toys coming out, and no one. They're like older figures, but they're kind of like repainted. And NECA has done a few of those. Like they'll put out a Godzilla, and then they'll put out one where he's got like a blue glow or something like that. But there's a Godzilla 1989. Godzilla versus Biollante, which is one of the figures we saw at Toy Fair. It's one of the new ones. There is a variant where he's covered in this like green bile, basically, where he gets like thrown up on by Biollante. And I guess they're either going to put that out, whether it's going to be an exclusive or a loot crate or something. It looks like that's happening. And then there's another similar figure. None of that's like been put out there or confirmed by NECA. But it's out there.
Right. A lot of that, sometimes that stuff gets out before they make the official announcement. But that Godzilla is really cool looking. I kind of like that it's like their own inspiration. Like that's probably how they kind of they might maybe
King Kong.
King Kong.
Yeah, they maybe can't get their full license from Universal or to do that exact likeness or whatever. But King Kong, it's kind of one of those characters that's in the I don't know, the collective
Pantheon,
conscious. We all know what it is, so they can kind of do their own thing. Abby, what'd you think?
It's a really cool original interpretation. I think that, it's like 8 inches tall, 30 points of articulation. I'm looking at the website.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I want it. It's cool. Very cool.
Jake, what you kaiju. Who should they do next? Now that we got Kong.
I mean, I think it would be great if they started doing other Godzilla kaiju, they've stuck pretty heavily to Godzilla, and I don't know if that's because that's just where their copyright lands them, or if maybe they don't think other monsters would sell as much. But I would love to see them do the fake Godzilla from Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, where like the first time Mecha Godzilla shows up, he's wearing like a Godzilla suit. And he's basically like trying to frame Godzilla. Everybody's like, Godzilla's gone bad, but it's Mecha Godzilla just in a suit. But he looks different. Like they're not just using the exact same suit from like he's like facing Godzilla, and Godzilla like burns off part of the suit, and you can see the metal shining underneath it.
Yeah,
that would be a cool figure to do. But I would love for them to do other monsters, like some of the weirder ones, Gigan, Megalon. Those would be cool. I know you guys have no idea what I'm saying.
I know.
I know they look cool.
Have Jake talking, we won't even know he's talking about.
I like it. No, I like it.
It's that section of the toy store that I look at and I consider buying and I send you pictures of, but I don't myself know everything.
Yeah,
about
what was that
it.
thing you saw? You saw something at Dave's Comics.
There was like a really good collection of kaiju monsters at Dave's. I don't know what they were, but I sent them to you.
It was Ultraman stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
good stuff.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah, excited about King Kong. NECA's killing it. So definitely check out that interview. Obviously, they've got the Back to the Future stuff coming, and they're going to do what would have been San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. There's going to be a Gremlins exclusive. There's going to be something. They hinted at something Turtles that sounds. I mean, Randy was talking about how he like brought it home for the family and everybody gathered around the fireplace. And it's like when in the 50s when Dad got his first.
It's a replica of the farmhouse.
Wait.
Oh my God.
That would be incredible.
That would be great.
That's something I would bring that home to the family.
It comes with Donatello, like that truck that Donatello and Casey Jones are working on.
It's the bathtub for.
Oh my God.
Bathtub diorama.
Does it have April's artwork as a accessory? That would be awesome.
What's a guy got to do to get a little food around here? Listen.
The porch swing.
I love it.
Cool.
It comes with Corey Feldman. We're being hacked in real time. We're being hacked in real time. Okay, cool. So good stuff. Excited about all the NECA stuff. And there was a last minute edition, I should say. They announced a tiny, what do they call those things? An animated version of Ace Ventura. And that figure is awesome. I love that.
So you sent that to us today, and I'm a little confused. We saw that at Toy Fair.
The Ace Ventura one?
Yes.
I thought we did too.
Oh, well, shit. I think I was
sent that, and I was like, Craig was so, occupied with the Turtles and stuff. Did you just completely miss? It was at Toy Fair. Yeah, we looked at it.
Well, I'm still excited.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
I feel like I need to go compare and make sure, but yeah, I feel like we saw that.
It's great. It's 100% a cool figure, and it makes me feel like they should do The Mask, Dumb and Dumber. Other Jim Carrey figures. Jim Carrey, he makes a good cartoon likeness. So, guys, I'm really sorry that I fucked up. That I sent you something you've seen before.
Let's just quit.
Jake didn't even respond. He's like, I'm not even going to dignify him with a response.
I was like, well, I'm going to wait and just call him out on the show when he brings it up.
It's better that way.
Why don't we do this? We should run some sort of exclusive contest for Yes Have Some, where the grand prize is you get for 1 week, you get to be in our group text.
Is that a prize?
No.
For 1 week, you get to ignore all the messages.
Yeah, literally, it's 7 days of when are we recording? What time? Can you do it?
Oh, our group text?
Yeah, our group
text. Okay, I was thinking like of other group texts. Okay.
No, not that one.
Okay. No one's allowed in that one.
Which one?
The good one.
Double H?
Yeah, Double H.
No. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Triple H. That's where we talk about how much we love Triple H all the time. Cool. So great stuff coming from NECA. Very exciting. And before we move on, I did do a video for YouTube, the top 5 real Ghostbusters unreleased figures. No, that's not what it was. That's literally not what it was. What did I call it? The top 5 unreleased Ghostbusters figures of all time.
Big difference.
It's doing pretty well. I'm excited about it. I had fun doing that. Somebody got mad at me for including Garrett from the Extreme Ghostbusters on the list.
Why?
Because I don't even want to read their comment. It was very offensive.
Yeah, this is an offensive comment.
Somebody on YouTube was basically making a case that there's no way Garrett would ever be a Ghostbuster.
Oh my God.
And I was like, dude.
Shut the fuck up.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Go back to your parents' house. Oh, it's upstairs. That's what I should have said.
Put your energy to something different.
Yeah.
Positive.
Who's just sitting around mad about
Yeah.
The extreme Ghostbusters 30 years later.
Yeah.
Apparently a lot of people. So check that out.
A lot of
Tony.
other stuff to be mad about in the world, bud.
Yeah.
So
That's what he was.
Move on.
That's what he's been upset about for the last couple of weeks. That's what he's fighting. Cool. So moving on. Okay, I'm excited about this. Jake talked to you a couple nights ago. It was pretty late. I think you called us around midnight. I heard some traffic in the background. I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe you were kidnapped and you were talking in code. But Jake, you did a little late night Walmart trip, didn't you?
You know, it wasn't like, yeah, it was, I came home from work, got some stuff done, I was hanging out, and then, I was like, you know what, I knew that my Walmart had those Kenner classics, so I was like, I guess I should go get them, even though I got a set on pre-order, and even though you have a set waiting for me.
I do.
At your place.
I'm holding so many things for Jake right now.
It annoys me that there's two different cards happening, that there's like the carded figures with the what is it that it says?
So I got some intel on this. The original releases that came out that hit stores a couple months ago for the Kenner Real Ghostbusters figures all say who you gonna call in the top left corner. The stuff that's hitting Walmart now no longer has that. There is a rumor, and I will say this is a rumor, that the reason they took it off is to avoid having to pay royalties to Ray Parker Jr.
Okay.
I don't know.
Or is it because they wanted to sell more to people like us who are now considering that to be a variant edition that we have to purchase?
Either way, it's working.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
All that's annoying.
Now I have 3
Oh,
copies.
so you found them?
Well, I found them. I went and I didn't. I have the newer, the ones that don't have the saying.
Okay, but
you
I've
have
got
a set for me
yes.
that does have it,
and none of us have gotten.
And then I also
Walmart orders
pre-ordered
yet,
set.
right?
Yeah.
What?
The Walmart orders. Walmart has shipped Slimer and Stay Puft, but has not shipped the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
to anybody.
They're fucking up. Walmart's fucking up.
Something's going on with Walmart. I got my 2 Stay Puffs showed up, and they were both pretty beat up. And I thought one of them had a big like brown blotch on the paint, but I shook the box and it was just a little piece of lint. It fell off. I was so excited. It's like, yes, fixed it. I'm a customizer now. So cool. So you got your sets. I'm holding on to yours. Abby, do you have yours?
Yeah, I've got my set in my room under my bed.
Under the bed.
No, your sets are my sets.
Yeah.
Like everything is communal between the two of us.
Yeah. So, well, Jake, I'm glad you found them. I still haven't seen any of the ones without the who you gonna call. But I haven't been to Walmart in a little bit, so I'll have to check it out. So what we're saying is Walmart has figures, Target has figures. Go shopping, be safe.
Go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go get them.
Wear a mask.
And Jake, you touched earlier on going to Jacksonville. I think our listeners will probably remember. I'm trying to piece together. About a year and a half ago, you found a toy store in Jacksonville that had a bunch of.
I wouldn't call it a store.
Don't dignify it with the term store.
Refresh our memories on that.
Okay, real quick. I was in Jacksonville. I was looking for some vintage toy stores, and I found this place that led me to a window tint place, which I pulled in. A guy met me at my car, excited that I was there because it was a Jurassic Park car, and quote, he had a lot of Jurassic Park stuff. So he had a not a real store. It looked like something he had started to put together in the back room of a window tinting place. Everything was covered in mold. Everything was eaten, probably by bugs or children or something else. I don't know. It was all
bit of both.
Stuff.
Bug
It
children.
was a whole situation. We did an episode about it because he didn't want to sell me anything. But I went back to Jacksonville. I went to a different store, a store that I had been to before. Really cool place. It's called like Awesome Toys Jacks or something like that. And I'm looking around. I find a little Jurassic Park section, and I realize it's the same figures, like some of the same shit, like not like, oh, this is the same toy I saw before. The exact same one. There was one in particular that I talked about on that episode, and we posted a picture of where it had like the worst damage to the package. Like the figures were still pretty good inside it, but the packaging was like eaten up like so badly, like covered in mold. And it looks like maybe this guy had bought some of that guy's inventory. I don't know if they did some trading or he bought some stuff. because the other guy probably needed money because he's not selling his fucking toys.
Because window tinting isn't like
what?
I just figure like window tinting might not be like the best business strategy, like to actually sustain like a livelihood.
Okay.
Probably.
Well, that's why he had the toy collecting business. He was trying to do them together and make some more money, diversify. It all sounds like the beginning of a horror movie anyway, but I'm glad that you got out, Jake, and continue. If you
it was just weird. It was some of the same figures. You know, I was like, oh, this is the exact same one that I tried to get the other guy to sell me and he wouldn't sell it to me. It's the same one right here. This is it in my hand. I took a picture of it and I was like, this is the exact same packaging. It's the same one. And then I looked at some of that was the only one that this guy had. It was really in bad condition. He had a couple other things that you can tell were from the same collection because they had like the mold was starting on them, but he didn't have anything else that was like really rotting, you know? So it was just that one. I was like, this is the same one. And it was crazy. And like, part of me was like, well, am I going to buy this over here? But then I'm like, no, fuck that guy. I'm not buying this now. I'm not like, no, I'll get it somewhere else. I did buy some stuff there.
Right.
But I was like, I'm not buying part of that guy's collection.
Yeah. His legacy will not live on. Hey, I don't know if we ever talked about the follow-up. This is my favorite part. When we did. So that guy ended up, that guy who we talked about with all the stuff Jake said, he ended up sending us a very angry email.
He listened to the episode and he listened to me talk shit about his figures.
His
and
toy
then he sent us an email trying to like refute it and be like, this is not true. This is not true. And I'm like, well, we didn't respond to it because I'm like, we don't need to. But I'm like,
because we're not.
I have pictures and videos of all of it. So
we're not eBay. Like, what are you going to do? Open up a case against our Jake's opinions?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's just,
Our official statement.
Funny that he listened. I thought it was funny that he listened to the episode. And
He's probably our biggest fan.
He does great window tinting.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
In my history, people involved in window tinting are not people to be trusted. Just putting it out there.
Well, there's something like disrespectful or something about toys in that condition, especially if you're not understanding their value, like that you could sell them for cheaper, or at least there's just, you gotta relate.
Or sell them at all.
Yeah. It's kind of a
just
weird
sell
territory.
Whatever, dude.
I mean, when something's decrepit like that, you take it out of the package and get what you get. Like, it's not even safe from a health perspective to have that stuff
Show
around.
that toy some respect, pop it out, put it up.
People need to respect toys.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Jake, I'm glad that there's nothing worse than sitting at home on a Saturday and getting a text from Jake letting you know he's at a toy store. And I got that, like, I literally was like, I'm about to drive to Jacksonville. I'll meet you there. Stay there for 7 hours. I'll be right there.
Dude, I'm itchy.
They had a bunch of Toy Biz, Batman stuff, Star Wars. It's a good store. Do you have the name of that store, Jake?
I think it's just like Awesome Toys Jacks.
Okay.
It's something really simple like that.
Cool. Well, we'll get the name. We'll post about it. Make sure we give that guy proper credit. Cool. So,
that was fun. It was
What?
kind of like taking a little trip to a toy store.
Yeah, it felt good. And then, at the same time that Jake was at that toy store, Ryan Dole and Chris Stewart were at Toys R Us in group therapy live streaming. I'm sitting at home, watching nothing on TV, and everybody else is buying toys. It's very frustrating. Very upset.
Meanwhile, every Friday you're on eBay spending tons of money buying just like
so
massive
much.
Dude,
toys.
I'm holding.
Posting. You made a post on the Yes Have Some thing today of a mask collection, and I'm like, I didn't even fucking know he was buying mask toys, and he's got the entire collection.
Did you feel betrayed when you saw that? I didn't even know about that.
I didn't tell anybody. Abby walked in. She's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Nothing. Get out of here."
You did it without me?
The good thing about toy lines like the mask is they're so cheap, but they're very cool.
They're cool looking for as cheap
Those
as they
figures
are.
are like $5 a piece.
Big and colorful.
Pretty
and fun.
small. It's pretty small.
They're pretty
lines.
small.
Yeah.
The line's small, and every one of them comes with Milo. So I've got like 10 dogs. It's really dumb.
I like that. That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Abby, what do you hold?
I was gonna refute Jake's saying that we're spending tons of money. Our last eBay hang, I feel like I spent like $20 maybe. I got these self-stick puffy stickers from Return of the Jedi, and I sent you the picture, Jake, when I got them, because they are probably the worst like artistic representations of the characters they're depicting, but also funny as fuck. Like Jabba the Hutt's doing like what is that, like a D-Generation X thing?
It's like a
suck
cross
it.
chop, yeah.
And then R2-D2 is very surprised. Salacious Crumb he's always looking kind of sexual, but it's great. And then the Chewbacca, he's doing like this little like kicking his leg up and holding his gun, and it's just so dumb.
We
and
put
I
a
love
picture up on Instagram.
Yeah. It's the little things. Honestly, that's kind of what I've enjoyed most about our eBay hangs, because I haven't gotten the big stuff yet. Like I've been chasing the Geonosis arena from Attack of the Clones, but just getting the little things like VHS tapes and stickers and stuff like that in the mail has been kind of nice.
Yeah. Yes. Good stuff. So, Jake, thanks for sharing your adventures. Always good to hear that toys are being bought.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that episode of Parks and Rec when Ron wants to go to the steakhouse and it's closed, and he's like,
"What did they do?
What do you think happened to all the other steaks? You think somebody ate them?" Like, knowing that toys are sitting on shelves and people aren't buying them makes me very sad. Okay, cool. We're going to get to this Bill and Ted trailer here in just a minute. This was kind of late breaking yesterday. So we talked about how Ghostbusters Day was canceled or postponed.
Range it.
Part of that was going to be the Josh Gad Reunited Apart. That is officially happening now this Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Central. The Back to the Future one and the Lord of the Rings ones were pretty long. I think the Lord of the Rings one was almost an hour. So they put up like a 2-minute clip, like a preview. I am very, very excited. Jake, did you check that out?
Yeah, I watched it. It was funny. It was cute. I'm excited for it.
It's going to be good. They
Yeah.
got everybody. They got Weaver, Aykroyd, Murray,
Papa
Potts,
Dan, yeah.
Dan. I do like when he gets Ivan on, and Ivan's like, "We're going to talk about Dave." Like that joke. Like
It's all funny. All of that played. I felt like it was the first time I'd laughed at something new in like 3 months.
Yeah, and Jason Reitman, they had already just did those jokes. Like, if it was just an hour of like, and now we've got Dan Aykroyd, he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about Blues Brothers." Just kidding, it's Ghostbusters.
They could have kept it.
They just keep it going. So that's going to launch Monday. Next week on the pod, we'll have a complete breakdown of that.
I'm looking forward to that so much.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, we've been like
we
scraping
talked
the bottom
about
of the barrel. Now we have a whole
I
thing.
joked about doing. So the show's called Reunited Apart. I joked about doing an after show. I think I was texting with Troy Benjamin called, what do you call, like reuniting after the reunion when they're back apart after show.
Reuniting. Okay.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Reuniting those that were apart after they were reunited.
What I'm saying is I'm excited, and I do. Rick Moranis they've announced it. Josh Gad put it on Twitter. Rick Moranis is not on it. So he's given Ghostbusters the cold shoulder. That's fine. We'll be.
He'll come out for Disney. But
Yeah, he's got that Disney Plus money.
Got it.
So that's gonna be Monday. There are rumors of a trailer being somehow packaged with this reunion. A trailer, a 3-minute and 5-second new trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife has been approved by the trailer rating board. The new trailer apparently is called Pass the Proton Pack.
Okay.
That's kind of what the trailer is being referred to as. Whether or not that hits on Monday or on Ghostbusters Day or 6 months from now, we do not know. But hey, there's a chance we got some really cool stuff happening pretty soon, because
a little sliver of hope right there.
A little bit of hope. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Hell yeah.
And I always love when people are like, I can't believe they got Bill Murray. Listen, they've
got him every time.
There's been the Afterlife will be the 4th Ghostbusters movie to star Bill Murray out of 4. Like, he's usually involved. So glad he is though. Cool. Well, let's move on. Any other final thoughts on that before we talk about this Bill and Ted?
No, dude.
No?
I think it was respectful that they postponed it. I understand. I'm bummed that it happened, but I'm looking forward to Ghostbusters Day taking place in the future.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's obvious reasons why it was pushed back. Okay. So when it happens, it happens. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So Bill and Ted Face the Music, the long-awaited 3rd Bill and Ted movie. It's been in some form of development for about 10 years. It's finally coming out on August 21st. At least as of right now, it's coming out on August 21st. They did not put that date on the trailer. But let's talk about it. We're all anticipating it. We've talked about Bill and Ted a lot on the show. The trailer hit. Jake, you sat down on your luxury recliner. You watched it.
Your personal massage chair.
I don't know where you watched it.
Work.
At work. At work. What'd you think? What are your first reactions? Gut reactions.
First reactions, gut reactions. It looks like there's some fun stuff in here. Unfortunately, I think it's a bad trailer. It's only a minute long, so it is really hard to judge it one way or the other. I'm getting some weird vibes off it. There is some stuff that looks like, oh, this is not going to be good. But then there's also some kind of fun stuff in there. Like, I don't know what to think currently. I don't know what the decision was to be like, first trailer, movie's coming out in 3 months. Let's put a 1 minute teaser that basically feels like a TV spot where it's kind of like cut really weird and not really giving you like, I don't know what the thought process there was. I think it's a bad trailer, but I'm very excited to see this movie.
All right, Abby, gut reaction.
Dude, I'm right there with you, Jake. I would say that I get the vibe that there's going to be a few funny moments, especially with death. Like that one little clip from that scene, which will probably be at the end, looks funny. But it's
you don't know. It'll probably be at the end. It could be the first scene of the movie.
Okay, well, I don't know.
I don't know.
I know it's an oddly cut trailer, and I know that it has choppy dialogue, and that Alex Winter's somehow a better actor than Keanu Reeves in this trailer, and that's disconcerting because Keanu Reeves is awesome. I know, Craig, you mentioned the whisper factor, the fact that he's never spoken above a whisper in a movie recently.
Well, it's been like 25 years. Like even in John Wick, it's not a very dialogue-driven movie. Like Keanu Reeves has proven himself. He's great at what he does, but for a 60-year-old man to tap into that like California, like kind of teenager. Yeah. I mean, you got to go into it with the fact that these are older guys now. And it might be a little bit hard to go back into that character exactly like you remembered it. Like I gave
exactly like Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get there.
Toaster. I literally I haven't seen Dumb and Dumber 2 because I don't want to put myself through that. So I watched the trailer for it just to like see what the comparisons, like if they really added up. And yeah, there's a similar vibe with like the daughters and all that kind of stuff. But I think Dumb and Dumber 2 seems like a worse movie. In the trailer, I thought was less funny than the Bill and Ted trailer, which I actually laughed a good amount at. And it may have been the fact that I was watching a trailer for the first time, and that's just exciting because it's been so long since we've had something new to discuss and digest, and Bill and Ted's one of my favorite things. So I'm excited to see them on screen, but it definitely feels like there's going to be some uncomfortable moments and probably some like poorly thrown together stuff. So I'm kind of worried about it panning out and becoming like a really memorable movie. It might just be kind of a fun little joyride, which is fine for Bill and Ted. It doesn't need to be more than that for me.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one for me because I liked the trailer. It took me a couple times. I watched it a few times. I do agree that it's a weirdly cut trailer, and it does that thing, Jake, we've talked about it so many times, that weird thing that they do in trailers where they kind of reassemble dialogue to kind of work for the context of the trailer, but it's probably taken from other parts of the movie. And it's very clear, like everything feels very rough and kind of like cut and paste as far as like the whole, like, we have to go steal the song from ourselves. Why would we steal from ourselves? Like that does not feel like it plays like that in the movie.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
As a Bill and Ted fan, right?
Yeah.
As somebody who's watched Bill and Ted 1 and 2 a lot.
Yeah.
So the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So the villain, what's his name? He's got a weird name. I can't ever remember his name.
Yeah.
I'll
look it up.
Yeah, look.
He uses his machine to make it where every TV in the world is watching. He's like, you're going to listen to me. And they make it a point to say every television in the world is going to see this happen. And then what happens is Bill and Ted defeat him. They go to the future really quick to learn guitar.
Yes.
They come back.
Yes.
And Bill and Ted and the band.
Yeah.
They play the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the entire world sees it. And the ending credits of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is like newspaper clippings where it's like Bill and World Peace.
It's like an epilogue. Yeah.
But that's so how do we get to part 3 and they're like, oh, you guys didn't do it yet? And I'm like, but we watched them do it in part 3.
Well, it makes me wonder how they're going to
Part
address.
2.
They're going to have to address. Like, okay. Here's what I'm going to say before we have this discussion. We realize that this is Bill and Ted, and they're fun and silly moments of a certain time period. But by the way, his name is Denomalos.
Yeah, Denomalos. It's like
But we take it seriously. So I think they need to address exactly what you're talking about, Jake. Like
I'm sure they will, because like, the first line in the trailer is like 30 years ago you played a concert to the entire world. That's what she's referring to.
Right.
She's referring to the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Right.
But the credits of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey shows us that is the event that caused the world peace. And they're like,
right.
Bill and Ted, like I rewatched the ending to make sure I'm not just being dumb, but I'm like, everybody in the world watches them play that awful Kiss song. And like, there's like newspaper clippings that's like Bill and Ted do
what? I'm not 100% sure what if you watch the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, they play the beginning of the Kiss song and they're rocking out. And then it cuts to the credits and it's just Kiss doing the Kiss song. So I'm not 100% sure what song they ended up playing. They just played the intro and then they were like...
It's just weird to me that the third movie is based on like, oh, we've never done the thing that they said we would do. And I'm like, but you did, and we all watched it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the finale of the last movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, when you think about Bill and Ted logic and like how they make things happen and like leave things for themselves in the future, like,
dude, Bill and Ted
it's all
logic.
going to get scrapped anyway, but still, it's almost, if it's undoing stuff that you enjoyed from the second movie, it's kind of a bummer to be like, oh, well, so that didn't happen. It's a little frustrating.
Listen, it's something
I don't know. They're going to have to explain it.
They're going to have to explain that. Otherwise, we're walking out together.
Yeah. All of us.
I think they'll address it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. I was kind of bummed about the trailer because there's not really a whole lot to talk about. Like it's a very, very quick. It's a minute long.
Right.
We don't get much. Like we get enough to say like, okay, Keanu Reeves is not good in this movie. Apparently, Alex Winter looks, sounds, and acts like he just came off of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
And that's it. We don't know anything else. Like it's such a small amount of footage that it's like, okay, I can't. Are we even going to get another trailer? The movie's coming out in 3 months. Like, why even put another trailer out? They should have just put out 1 3-minute actual real trailer and been like, this is all we're going to put out until the movie. But like now we just have this weird
system.
A trailer is supposed to like, I don't know. I feel like I immediately need a new trailer. This trailer did less for me than not having a trailer.
Right, because it's kind of a tweener, right? It's more than a teaser. Because if it was just a teaser where it was like 30 seconds, you see the concert, you see Bill and Ted, and then that's it. That's like, ooh, I can't wait to see more.
That's a tasty little appetizer that makes you want more.
But
versus a disconcerting kind of mashup.
My whole thing going into it, I was like, I want to hear what they sound like, because I'm worried. Like, this is kind of the more broad discussion of when you've got actors revisiting characters that they haven't played in a very long time and you're doing a sequel, there's not a great track record for it, right? So it's been done before. I think The Odd Couple did it, like Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. They did it like 50 years later, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that.
Especially with, we're talking about comedies, like Arrested Development trying to come back, felt very
weird.
stilted and weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And it's especially hard with something like Bill and Ted, where it's so rooted in pop culture. We've seen these movies so many times, and we've lived with these characters for 30 years. The thing is, Ed Solomon, who's the writer of the movie, on Twitter said he wrote both Bill and Ted movies, and he wrote this one. He's only seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 3 times. So he said he watched it at a cast and crew screening, and then once when it was in theaters, and then once about 10 years ago for like a DVD commentary thing. So that you have to take that into account. Like, it's a little bit scary when they're revisiting these characters. Obviously, we only saw a couple seconds. So let's talk about, Abby, what did you like in the trailer? What were the things that stood out that you thought were positives for you?
I liked Alex Winter. I feel like he made me laugh, especially in the beginning opening dialogue. Trying to think. I liked, like I said, the musical moment where you saw Death come out, and that's obviously evocative of the first or the second movie. I'm I'm trying to think if there was any other moments that like really stood out. The prison stuff was like kind of funny, but also, didn't like really hit me. So
okay,
I can't think of like an over the top favorite moment.
Okay,
which is probably saying like a statement in and of itself.
Okay, all right. They did. They showed Bill and Ted's Daughters for about
2 seconds.
5 seconds.
Yeah, that wasn't enough for like me to get interested.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think anything in this trailer is funny except for maybe like the only thing that I think is kind of, and it's not even like laugh out loud funny, but I thought it was funny whenever they like, whenever the people from the future are like, what do you have to say for yourselves? And they just do the same, like, be excellent to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like look at each other because it's like obviously not working anymore.
Yeah.
That is the only part that I was like, oh, that's funny.
That's
but there was
funny.
nothing, there's no other dialogue except for like, let's steal it from ourselves. And I'm like, that's the clunkiest dialogue I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not funny.
Right.
And that, like, what else? That's it.
Yeah. I agree with those. Those are my highlights as well. Knowing that the movie, if you look at the cast list, like there's a lot of really talented and funny people in the movie that obviously are not in the trailer. Like Kristen Shaw's in the movie. Jillian Bell. The two girls are going to play Bill and Ted's Daughters, and we know that like Missy's back and Ted's dad's back. Whoa.
God, I hope like, dude, I don't know if you, I know like we've had so many discussions about how comic books are never like, there's all the Ghostbuster comic books that we're always like, this doesn't count. Even if it's in the canon, it doesn't count. Nobody reads, like not enough people read those comics. They did a run of Bill and Ted comics a little while back.
Yeah.
And I picked some of them up and like Napoleon came back as the villain.
Oh,
that's great.
But something that I thought was funny was like at the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, one of the newspaper articles is that the villain marries Missy.
Oh, Delamos?
Like,
Delamos? No one says that.
Yeah. And I'm like, it would be so funny if he's just in the movie.
Yeah.
he's just like his stepdad. Now.
Yeah. Dude, it would be like, Bill, I can't believe after Missy left your dad and married mine, and then married I can't say his fucking name, Denominos. Because that guy sounds funny. He's like, Bill and Ted. Like,
hey, you know what else I think might be like low key my favorite part in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey? I didn't realize this until I was just watching clips from it, and at the end they show up and they defeat the evil robot us's.
Right.
That's who they think the villain. They never meet.
Yeah.
Right.
Anomalos until he shows up. He shows up at the very end and he's like, this is what I'm going to do. And it's like a 2-minute confrontation where they're like, well, we put the cage, and we planted the gun, and then they defeat him.
Yeah.
And then like, I think it's Bill has a line who's like, we don't know who that guy is. It's like, they literally don't know that the villain, they thought it was the robot us's the entire, like they thought those were the villains. They're literally like, we don't know that guy.
So okay. I thought that was the Denomilos is.
Who's Denomilos?
Well, he's
Chuck. Okay, that's the villain. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the villain.
Got it.
It's explained at the beginning of Bogus Journey that he was like Rufus's teacher, like his mentor.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
By the way, the scene in Bogus Journey. Well, let's just talk about Bogus Journey for a few. When Rufus throws the guitar and it gets stuck on top of the phone booth, and then he goes like through the circuits of time, trailing off the back like Marty McFly. That's great.
I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Face the Music. I've been worried about it for a while. I haven't vocalized it. I'm not 100% sure that this is, if you're bringing back Bill and Ted, that this is the best plot.
Yeah, and bringing them into the I feel like if it was a total throwback and like feel good, like to like an 80s feeling, late 80s feeling film, rather than like seeing them in the now kind of thing.
Super modern.
I'm not sure if that's what anyone wanted.
That doesn't bother me as much, but just like the whole like it's kind of what Jake already touched on. Like, your plot is kind of negating the end of the second one. And that's some of the worry I think people sometimes have with Ghostbusters Afterlife is, are you going to reference the events of the second movie that we all know and love, right? Which I'm sure they will in some form.
I mean, they're clearly not negating Bogus Journey because death is in this.
Because death is in it.
And it's not like, it's just a weird thing that I just needed answered why that isn't the event they're saying they didn't do when it is. I don't understand.
Right.
And I'm sure it will probably be explained in kind of like a jokey way. They'll probably be like, oh, well, I don't know, that didn't happen, or not that it didn't happen, but it just didn't. It wore off. Maybe the effects wore off very quickly or something. And whatever. I think though, just like overall, man, I need an actual trailer. This wasn't enough for me to give. I can sit here and complain about it and say, oh, it looks bad, but it's a 1 minute trailer and I can't judge an entire movie on 1 minute.
Right.
The trailer is not great, but I think the movie can still be good.
Well, we've gotten bad trailers before that turn out to great movies.
True.
Yeah.
And great trailers that turned out to be bad movies.
Suicide
Squad. Honestly, the only thing that this trailer leaves me wondering is, why is the ladder on the wrong side?
Oh, wrong movie. The ladder on the wrong side of the phone booth. I did think the special effects and stuff look cool. Like, I'm glad. So some people compared it to like the Dumb and Dumber trailer and stuff, and that kind of is the broader discussion. I think Harrison Ford did a great job in coming back after so much time to, Crystal Skull is not the best movie in the world. In fact, we watched it last night, but he does a good job as Indiana Jones, and he did great as Han Solo in Force Awakens. But it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey they almost felt like even caricatures of themselves from the original movie, because if you remember the original Dumb and Dumber, there's a lot of subtlety to those characters, and their humor comes from a lot of the situations they're in and their facial expressions and their one-liners. And then there's a lot of weird gross out humor in the second movie and a lot of weird puns, and it almost felt like whoever wrote it, like, which I think were the original writers, like they had kind of just lost touch with what made the original Dumb and Dumber good. So I do think this movie will be fun, and will, even if it doesn't turn out to be like, live up to the first two movies, I think it's going to have the spirit of Bill and Ted no matter what. But having said all that, Joe Dirt 2 is awful. Zoolander 2 is awful.
Yeah.
Anchorman 2 is not great. Sometimes it's really hard to have a follow-up. And
sometimes it's a fluke or lightning in a bottle or whatever. Like that thing that you're talking about where it's like smart humor, but it's accessible to everybody, and there's lots of dumb, like, physical jokes in it, but still it appeals to that high.
I'm sick of people. I've seen these people post like, guys, let's not pretend like Bill and Ted is a great movie. Like, no.
There's Oedipus jokes and Oedipal jokes, and that's smart shit. It's funny.
Those movies are good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they're like Jurassic Park. I'm saying they're better. I think, I don't know. I don't think that's a good excuse. Like, come on, don't have high standards for the new movie. Let's not pretend like that's bullshit. I don't like that at all. Like, I want to love the new Bill and Ted, and I hope it's amazing. And I think I enjoyed the trailer a little bit more than both of you, but I picked up on the same red flags. Like, Jake, when I watched that trailer, in my head I was like, Jake didn't like this. I know he didn't. I know it. And it's not because, like, we joke about how, like, oh, Jake doesn't like, that's not, Jake likes a lot of things. I've seen him eat different sandwiches and stuff. I've seen him watch all sorts of movies and say, I like that. But I knew Jake likes sandwiches. Just put it out there. I knew there would be some mixed feelings. So general discussion, though, we still haven't seen the original GBs reprising their roles in the new movie.
Yeah.
Could we be in for a similar
weirdness?
Sure.
Probably a little bit.
Like,
there could be an off step or something weird, but
sure. But here's the thing: I feel like Dan Aykroyd is very like his tiny cameo in Answer the Call is basically Ray.
Right.
I think Ray is too close to Dan Aykroyd's own personality that he'll be fine. Winston's probably not actually going to be in the movie.
Stop it. He will.
I think those. I feel like we've gotten enough, like, we got voiceover from all 4 of them. I know it's been a while at this point, but it all was like, this sounds cool. This sounds like Ghostbusters. I think it'll be fine. Like, they're not, the thing that's different is that, those guys are just playing, like, I don't want to say normal people, but they're playing just people. They're not like putting on these weird voices to do the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They're not playing like idiots to do the Ghostbusters. Like Bill and Ted, Harry and Lloyd.
You have
those
to buy
are
into
such
that stupidity.
weird cartoon like characters that I think it's probably easy to forget how you did that.
Yeah. I agree. Jake, that was all very well put. Good stuff. I agree. I think Ernie Hudson can step back into Winston any day of the week.
Yeah,
100%.
I think all 3 of those guys can.
I think Bill Murray is the one I'm most interested in because Bill Murray can be very charismatic and very charming. He can also, in his acting, in the roles he's taken over the past 10, 15 years, have been a little bit more deadpan, a little bit more dry.
Yeah.
And in 2009, when he reprised Venkman for the video game, the delivery was a little bit, it felt a little off.
Well, I think his mood and his acting is probably a byproduct of the environment that he's in. And when reading that Vanity Fair article that came out about the set with Jason Reitman and all the like humor and fun they were having, I feel like I have hope and honestly feel like Bill Murray will probably be closer to the best version of himself if he's having a good time on set and he's doing something with really funny and smart people like the crew behind Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I kind of think that there's a good chance that we could see the best version of him. And just like Jake said, I think that Dan Aykroyd is like always ready to be Ray Stantz. He was that in Evolution and in every other role he's played.
He was Ray Stantz in the fucking photo line at Ghostbusters Fan Fest.
Yes.
He's always Ray Stantz. It's fine.
Yeah. We love it.
I agree. I think we're all on the same page. I think the weird thing is though, we're 4 weeks away from what would have been the release date for Afterlife. So, I don't think any of us in June 11th, 2020, we still haven't seen the original guys. We don't know what the context is for that movie, but I agree with you, Abby. I think you get that environment. You get Dan and Bill and Ernie and
it's the people
Sigourney
that you
Weaver,
work
Annie
with.
Potts.
Yeah, and you surround yourself with that I think can give you that energy and that spark and at least remind you of what it was like when you were on set back in the day.
Right.
So I think
and also
good.
Listen, Bill Murray has come around over the last couple of years. I think he's a little bit more reflective of his early career.
Compassionate.
I think he's more, somebody posted the other day, this was really cool. And it could really, I don't know. I think you guys would probably agree with me. Anytime I think about Groundhog Day leading to the falling out between Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, it bums me out. It really bums me out because they did such great work together. And who knows, they could have done not even just Ghostbusters 3, they could have done a lot more together. But somebody on one of the autograph groups I'm in had a story about watching the filming of Groundhog Day in Woodstock, Illinois when he was a kid and standing off to the side with his autograph book and Bill Murray coming over and signing his autograph book. And Bill Murray said, "I'm going to do you one better," and took the book over to the director's table and had Harold Ramis sign it too. Sure. And that was like, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That I don't know if it makes up for like the 30-year falling out, but I'm glad that at least that day Bill was in a good mood. I'm very excited. I hope we get this trailer soon. I hope we see some sneak peeks and some surprises coming out of the Josh Gad
oh my God
event Monday. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So yeah, like not a whole lot more to unpack with Bill and Ted. Abby, any final thoughts on that trailer?
I'm hopeful, but I'm not going to be over the moon for it because there's a good chance it could be a completely forgettable flop that's uncomfortable to watch. So we'll see what happens.
I did like their tattoos on the prison tattoos. Jake, any final thoughts on Bill and Ted?
No, I mean, I think we just need to see more.
Need some more.
Basically.
Okay, cool. Last thing, we're at the hour mark here. We're going to be wrapping up here in a few. We had a little bit of an anniversary this week. It has been 1 year since Ghostbusters Fan Fest.
Oh.
And I've been seeing all the pictures and all the memories. And you know what? And we talked about this about a month ago. I've got good memories of that trip. That was a great trip. A lot of seminal moments in YHS history. Jake didn't see it, Didn't even see it. That happened on that trip.
Yeah.
We got to meet people from all over the world, got all these great experiences. Obviously, FanFest had some highs and some lows and some stress, but overall was a really great day. And I just wanted to, I know a lot of our listeners were there and we met a lot of people, and I just wanted to say that I miss being there still.
Yeah. I miss being with those people. For sure. Like being surrounded by our friends from around the country and going out for dinners and toy hunting and exploring California with the two of you was awesome. And yeah, it was the time that we spent on the lawn at the Sony lot was really special, seeing Dan and Ernie and Ivan and Jason, everyone come out. Like, I'll never forget that. And I think that was worth the price of admission. So I'm grateful we got to do that.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And the stress that followed and oh man. So there's
We've got like footage of our stress happening live.
Oh yeah, I found a screenshot in one of the videos on YouTube of the three of us. It's in the video. This guy's just panning. It's some random guy's video, and it's the three of us like on the ground unrolling prints. And Abby's like, "It won't fit."
It doesn't fit.
And Jake's like yelling at me like, "Craig, Jake, sometimes when I'm doing something stupid and you are observing it, and you're telling me to like stop it."
Yeah,
that somebody caught that in the wild.
It's amazing. I'm glad they did.
Craig, stop it.
Craig. It's like I probably could tell this story now, and we'll wrap up on this when we were doing some filming, some more Dr. Pepper stuff just before quarantine. And all that stuff's kind of on hold right now. But we had our buddies Hal and Mike over helping. And at one point...
This is about Josie.
Yeah. At one point, it was kind of a stressful day because there was a lot of moving parts and we were doing a lot of stuff.
Changing costumes.
Yeah. And at one
dealing
point...
with COVID-19.
We thought the cat, Jonesy, had gotten out. And we kind of shut everything down and we were looking for the cat. And I was getting really stressed and I was getting really upset and freaking out. And I pulled Jake into the kitchen. I said, "Jake, everybody needs to leave right now." And Jake goes, "No, shut up. We're fine." I was trying to kick everybody out. Including
until we found Josie.
Until I found the cat.
By the way, he was behind one of the toy cabinets.
Yeah, he was behind the
nice
shelf.
Ones,
He was behind the shelf. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't kick Hal and Mike out. They would have been like, "Shut up." They would have also been like, "No, we're not leaving." Like I had no control of the situation at all. But Jake, I just wanted to thank you for all the times that you've calmed me down.
You're welcome. There's probably going to be plenty more.
We look forward to them.
I cannot wait to be out in public freaking out again in an Olive Garden parking lot.
That was Craig's first panic attack that Jake helped him with. Craig, just park the car.
Such an idiot. Oh my God. All right, cool. So we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
A lot going on. Another reminder, because I really am passionate about this project, check out those prints from Ghostbusters 2 at the GB Containment Unit from Jack Johnson. They're very, very cool. One time only to get your hands on some art that has never been available before. And yeah, I got a box to open that came in the mail today. Everybody's going to yell at me when I do. Because I like toys and I'm dabbling with other brands that I never thought I would, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Focused collecting.
I don't have it.
You're not focused.
I don't have it.
Okay.
Last thing, Jake, how are your Congo figures? I know they fell over the other day.
I'm just going to leave them like that. I can't control them. They're out of my control. They will not stand up. I'm going to have to get some stands. They're the only figures in my entire collection that continue to fucking fall over. I hate that I opened those.
Yeah.
I liked that we filmed it. That was fun.
Jake was so mad at the end.
But yeah, it's a bummer.
I can't believe that happened this year. It feels like it was 10 years ago.
One of the only events of 2020.
Yeah. Well, cool. So we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much to everybody for your continued support and listenership. We really appreciate it. More Patreon bonus content coming up. We're going to do Nothing But Trouble, I think is what we kind of teased. So we'll do that. I've never seen it. I don't think Abby's ever seen it. So we'll do a full breakdown of that movie. And maybe we'll have Dan Aykroyd join us. Stranger things have happened. Probably not, but you never know. And Jake, anything else before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I think I know they're listening. So I got 2 messages for 2 groups of people.
All right, here we go. This is important. Listen.
First of all, please put out a better Bill and Ted trailer immediately.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let your toys get moldy and then try to sell them to people.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that the person who cut the Bill and Ted trailer is the guy who owned the shop in Florida?
It's the same guy.
Same quality of work. I wouldn't doubt it.
Here's my real final thought on the Bill and Ted trailer. I think it's a tough position because they don't want to give a lot away. They know they have to put out some sort of teaser. The timeline is weird. Let's just say that I think there's a good movie in there. But it wasn't the strongest trailer. If you think, and it's hard because we got that Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer in December, and that's like one of the great teaser trailers of all time, or whatever. If you call it a teaser or full trailer, like completely sets the stage. You know exactly what that movie is going to be all about, even though you didn't even see majority of the characters.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit tougher for something like Bill and Ted, but we'll hold out hope. It's going to be out.
Lowered expectations might be a good thing in the end. It could blow us, blow our minds.
It could blow us.
I always do that. I hope it does. I really do.
Cool. Well, we'll sign off. I just want to let everybody know that I found out yesterday that Abigail eats ice cream in the shower.
Yeah, and you should too.
Well,
I introduced you to it. Shower ice cream is the
weirdest thing I've ever heard.
No, it's not. Have you ever had something cold while you're fully immersed in steam and something hot? It's like you feel like you're rich.
Ice cream?
Yeah, in the shower with a spoon. Just keep the ice cream out of the stream of water. And
that sounds more gummo and less.
No, it's not spaghetti, and my shower's clean. It's not like I eat the entire tub of ice cream. It's like a little.
Oh, now you're backtracking.
It's the top layer, and you just enjoy it with some classical music in the shower.
This is how we're gonna end.
Lit.
This is exactly what happened. I'm watching TV and I hear from the bathroom, Craig, you got to see this. You got to try this.
I don't talk like that. I'm not your dad.
You got to try this. I go, what? I'm eating ice cream in the shower. Okay.
Shower ice cream.
That's amazing.
So it was good stuff.
Yeah.
For Jacob Walsh.
Yeah. Do it.
Abigail
Get
Gardner.
some shower ice cream. Be safe. Wear a mask.
Next week, we'll have complete reactions to Ghostbusters Reunited Apart with Josh Gad. And they're teasing some really cool surprises. Whether or not we get additional footage, still images, or trailers for Afterlife is to be seen. We will update everybody as it happens. For Abigail Gardner and Jacob Walsh, my name is Craig Goldberg. I didn't even see it.
Shower ice cream.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks.
Bye, guys.
Jack, we're really glad that you're here with us this morning. You're on with Tom and Matt here from the Containment Unit. We have a very special co-worker, cohort, friend of the group, if you will. Craig Goldberg from Yes Have Some podcast is with us today.
Hello,
morning, Craig. Jack, we're really excited to chat with you, all three of us here. Your work is stunning. We are proud and honored to be the ones to kind of introduce you to the Ghostbusters fandom. For those of you watching this, Jack was a production illustrator on Ghostbusters 2. He's responsible for some iconic things that we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, Jack, we know you had a career in Hollywood that spanned over 27 years. And I was just wanting to, hear how you got started. And was art always your passion?
I think by the time I was 6, I sort of knew I was going there somewhere. All it takes is you do a little thing with some crayons of a cat, and it sort of looks like a cat, and you have some aunt that says, "Oh my God, that's wonderful! It looks like a cat," and you're done. Anyway, I majored in art in high school, which meant 2 years, so I learned a little bit there. And I suppose I was one of the top couple of kids, which, again, reinforces it. But I'd been, after I went to Art Center, I got into advertising for about 12 years and freelance for 3. And then I got a call from a guy I'd gone to Art Center with, Tom Cranham, who asked if I might be interested in the movie industry, and I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll check it out. What's the story?" And he said, basically, the unions had always been tough as hell to get into, but all of a sudden there was so much work that they were dragging people off the street. So I went over and had an interview with Irwin Allen on a wonderful movie called Evil Knievel. I mean, it was really awful, but basically I was doing storyboards, and I'd done advertising storyboards. So what's the big deal? And they taught me a little bit about camera angles and learning how to do arrows that made some sort of sense. And I was off and running, but after I could only work for 6 weeks before I had to join the union. So I did the 6 weeks. The head of the union called. And he's a guy with the new Cadillac every year and jewelry all over himself, and went back to where they burned cars and turned them over in the street and all that stuff. And I said, "Well, look, I've been doing okay with the advertising right now, so I think I'll pass." And he nearly shit a brick. I mean, he was just violent about what I was passing up. So, anyway, about 6 months later, maybe 3 or 4 months later, the advertising business had dried up. I called my friend Tom to see if anything was going, and he sent me to a guy who was working in the effects department for the first Star Trek movie. But I had to join the union, so it basically meant I had to call this guy, get on my knees, and say, I think it changed my mind, and I probably made a mistake, and I'd like to join the union. So he didn't punish me too much, and that's how I got into it.
So Star Trek was your first major feature film?
Yes.
Looking at your filmography, Jack, and we'll talk about a handful of those in a little bit, but you've worked on some of the most iconic movies for our generation. We're all here mid-30s. Beetlejuice, Lost Boys, Goonies. You've worked on a lot of movies that are very near and dear to all of us.
Jurassic Park 3.
Jurassic Park 3.
Hey, I love Jurassic Park 3.
Me too.
Oh.
Ace Ventura, Independence Day, classics.
I'm partial to Christmas Vacation myself. That was a stunner.
A big, high-level film, yes.
So, let's just jump into it because we want to focus a lot on your work on Ghostbusters 2. How did you transition from what you were working on before? Like, how did you become involved with Ghostbusters?
The production designer, the tendency is for illustrators, among others, to when they get a good relationship with a production designer, they stay with them within reason. What usually happens is the production designer is on the film a hell of a lot longer than you are. So even though they want you and they like your work, you could go 6 months without being able to work with that person. So you wind up having 3 or 4, or at least I did, production designers that would want me to work with them. So generally, it would work out well that way. And Ball Welsh was probably one of the 2 best production designers I worked with in my entire career. He, in fact, a little side issue, introduced me to the Art Directors Guild when they gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award, which then I got to throw in. I'm also in the Academy, so it means that even though I live out here in the middle of nowhere, I get all the videos for all of the films that are up. I don't vote anymore because I just figured I was getting too old and removed from all of it. But it was it was fun when I did, but hell, I get 70 films, and there's no way I'm going to watch all those over each year and vote. Anyway, sorry to slide sideways there, but Bo is an off-the-wall kind of production designer that could draw himself, which is a whole other story, working for production designers that can actually design and production designers that want you to design. So anyway, once I got on, I'd known him, on Best Defense. There was a film called Star Chamber, Best Defense, and then Swing Shift. All three of those films, he was either a set designer or an art director. So I already worked with him by the time we got to Goonies. And then I think Lost Boys was the first one where he was a production designer. And then I worked with him off and on for years. You're going to have to get used to my long-winded answers.
No, we're happy about that, Jack. So, you've shared with me, some really great images. I wanted to talk about one specifically, and I don't know that you'll be able to see this on the screen. I sure hope. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes, I can.
So, right here, this is an image that is really fascinating to a lot of us. This is kind of a dilapidated firehouse that looks like these cutscenes that we've seen still images from over the years. Obviously, it looks like it's sometime between Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Can you talk a little bit about what your directive was for this piece and how you got it? Because this looks like it could be a photo of Hook and Ladder 8 in Tribeca.
I had I believe that to the best of my memory, I had research on that building. Of course, it didn't look like this. So it was my interpretation that, there might have been a couple of fires. The place was boarded up. The more dilapidated and overdone, the better. So that's just basically my interpretation of turning that thing into a boarded up place in a big city.
Very cool. Hey, Jack, when you're going into to start doing these designs, specifically for something like Ghostbusters 2, or any of the films, like since this is the second movie in a franchise, what are you familiar with the first movie at this time? Do you use that as inspiration, or do you just kind of go into it? Does that really matter? Like if it's part of a franchise like that for you and the way that you do your art?
Yeah, you can't deny the first one for a lot of basic stuff. These guys are going back to the same equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the visual, again, through Bo Welch, for instance, the lab. As I remember, the lab is all new, and I must have done half a dozen sketches on the lab of various things, and like the even down to the tiles in the floor, because they were used to position other things later. I work with thumbnails. My ideas are small, sometimes like 2 by 3 by 4 inches or even smaller. So, and that is partially my interpretation of what it says in the script. And at some point, I'll take 3 or 4 of what I feel are the most important possible visuals, and or be given that are worked out between me and the production designer. And then as I do those and he looks at them, he gives me direction of which ones he feels are worth taking up to a larger level. And I think, to be honest, Bo had the impression that there was a hell of a lot of money spent on the first film and that we were going to have a pretty good budget. And in reality, they really shut it down. And I guess that tends to be typical with films that are in a series. So we were, well, I didn't even understand it at the time, but he did make that comment at one point, and it's always too bad because when you're in the beginning, in the background, you can see what the possibilities are for some great visual sets. And it's very disappointing when they don't happen. But again, it's a business and it's a reality. So I usually, even though a production designer says this is what he thinks should go, if I'm convinced that it's worth it on my own time or whatever, I'll take what I think should be done and push it. And sometimes I get away with it. Sometimes that actually gets on the screen. But when you mentioned Jurassic 3, I have no idea what the budgets were for those two previous films. But again, it's a different script, so it called in for totally different sets, and that's really yes, you have to be a little influenced by what you saw before, but I think for the most part, it's you try to separate that, and at least with your whatever creative ideas you have.
Hey, Jack, I had seen a great video of you visiting the Goonies house for the first time. And it was mind-blowing to me that you drew the house with as much detail without having ever set foot there. And so is that standard? Is that usual where you don't see in person the places that you're drawing? Or, and if that's the case, what's it like to see them in person for the first time?
I would get, my experience was about 2/3 of the time I never got to go to the location. A good example would be Perfect Storm. I had to draw a lot of that stuff that was actually on location from photographs shot by a location guy. And typically, Goonies was another good example. What the director or production designer thinks they want to see is never the same angle of what I've been given in these shots. So there's a lot of interpolation going on, but I mean, I can see 3/4 of the front of a house and 1/4 of one side, and they want me to see the other side. And anyway, and in Goonies, it was, as I remember, it was like a Polaroid. I was trying to work from a damn Polaroid. So, although the purpose of doing that sketch was to show what the changes were going to be made for the porch or the steps or whatever. And for example, on the left side of the house, instead of trying to cover part of the walls or a window or whatever, we put up, what do you call it? Pieces to look as if they were repainting the house or something, which actually covered up what we didn't like on that side of that part of the side of the house. So it's odd that then has become probably the biggest thing that people have wanted from me from that movie is that house. And let me also say that right after that interview, the woman that owned the house allowed me to go inside and take a tour of the house so I could see what they changed. And she, of course, was very proud of the architectural changes. She moved the wall, et cetera, and it really looked very nice. She'd done a great job. I was able to go upstairs to look out one of the windows they used in the film. Anyway, it was really a crack up for me to be able, after all of that, to go in the house and see all the rest of it. And of course, the Goonies fans are almost like the Trekkie fans. I don't know about GB2, whether you get people running around in costumes at events, but they sure did 5 years ago in Oregon.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised, Jack.
Yeah.
Nothing surprises me.
About a year ago, we were all three of us here. We were at Sony Pictures in Culver City, in outfits and gear and such, with I don't know, hundreds of other fans for a 35th anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
So
well, why it's so cool to talk to you, Jack, is we are all huge Ghostbusters fans, and Ghostbusters 2, especially within the fandom, which is a large hardcore fandom of people, it's kind of been ignored and it hasn't gotten that special treatment over the years, where we haven't gotten a lot of behind the scenes images or looks at earlier scripts, or in this case, like, pre-production art and things like that. So knowing that it's out there and that we can talk to somebody like you who can give us some insight is a real treat. So I'm very
good.
Yeah.
There were over 5,000 people up there in Oregon 5 years ago, and I could not believe it.
The production. Wow, that's pretty intense.
Hello? Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking to what Craig said about the pre-production artwork, I'm just blown away. I'm going to share this image here by this. Can you guys all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is the Dana's restoration room from the museum in Ghostbusters 2. And looking at this and then knowing in my mind's eye what is on screen, it's just incredible, the detail and how they recreated this. Can you share a little bit about this restoration room with us?
It's very, very vague in my mind as to how it all got together, but typically Bo Welch, because he could draw, would give me at least architectural pieces to work with. So I don't know whether this was actually part of a museum. I don't remember. But what I would do is would take his research, and he would give me, knowing that it had to be a set on a stage, you were somewhat limited in the scope or the size of the room. You also, unfortunately, you don't know what the cinematographer or the director is going to do with it. For instance, you could do a half room, a three-sided room, if you knew the director would allow you to work with it, but they generally don't, no matter what's in the storyboard. So you have to design the whole damn room. And as I mentioned earlier to Thomas, I was able to do a full perspective for any given lens at any given distance. So this sketch, for instance, it has the reality. It has an exact depth. The pillars have an exact height. Everything is in a perfect scale. So that guys like Bo could go to the director and everybody else and say, this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to be 100 feet long by 37 feet wide. The ceiling is going to have 2 depths of whatever it is. The alcove will be so-and-so. And, of course, he by then would have set design. They would have a plan. They'd have 4 elevations at least. And so it then becomes a reality that they can pick this and pick that. But that was the process. So back to this room again. As I remember the film, there's a point where people are standing on a specific design on the floor. And again, that's all sort of built in. Typically trying to do, if you've got time, you put something in the foreground of an illustration that gives not only scale, but gives you more depth. And there are a lot of illustrators that can do fine illustrations, but they generally don't have a light source. Now, as I'm looking at this one, it doesn't have much of a light source. But one of the things I always try to do, well, you can see a little bit at the windows, but to me, when you start casting shadows over a floor or walls or whatever, you give a hell of a lot more reality to the depth of the sketch. And I don't know what, I think that's about it as far as what I have to say on that subject.
That's very cool. That's amazing insight. Yeah, I mean, never having seen this image before as a Ghostbusters fan and familiar with the movie, it's right when you see it, it's undeniable. You know exactly what you're looking at. So to see that, you have those directives and you are building it out from an architecture standpoint and exact measurements, to see this image and then know what we saw on the screen is pretty incredible.
And I love the practical lived in feeling. You see the paintbrushes out, you see all these details, the cart's just a little off, it's not straight and it looks like it's being used. And I just love the thought and the detail that you put into that.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, in those days, we worked with blueprints, sepias, and black lines, which come from a machine called an Oslid machine. They still make blueprints in a similar way today, but that paper is somewhat delicate, and you can see it's been a little beaten up over the years. Another little insight, 5 years ago or 6, when one of my youngest son called me and said, do you know they're having a Goonies reunion, and maybe some of that stuff that you've got stuck in your shop that are just molding away is maybe worth something, and maybe you should take the Goonies stuff out and see what you can make of it. And we wound up taking a trip together up there, and I was blown away that they were interested in so much of that stuff. But that's how all this started, and it was obviously all worthwhile. And as I've said numerous times, I realized how much I enjoy talking about myself. I'm not embarrassed about it at all. but I guess I live by myself, and maybe that's it. Maybe I need more opportunity to talk to somebody. But anyway, excuse me. It's been a long process of shooting, gathering, filing almost 3,000 pieces of artwork and prints and so forth that I've finally got through about a year or two ago. Anyway, sorry.
No, please don't apologize. One thing I was going to chime in with real quick is, as a fan of the films and then as a collector, a lot of the times to get like a prop or something that was actually used in the movie is just completely ridiculous prices for even for minor things that might be in the background. But then you kind of move on to things like this, these pieces of art, these original, production sketches and things like that. And there's this huge market because it's a way to put on your wall a piece of basically your own history and as a fan of whatever the popular culture is. So,
right.
It's really great that you've been able to hold on to that stuff all these years.
Is it weird at all? Is it weird that people want that stuff to you?
No, it's just that it's taken a while for me to understand it. When you're talking about Superman or Batman or some of those big corporate successes, I understand that, any piece of it. But I was surprised about Goonies. I'm surprised about Ghostbusters 2. I could understand Ghostbusters 1. Same thing with Jurassic 3. The idea of one of your favorite films, Thomas, being Christmas Vacation, that's another one that I would just go right over my head. So it's been an interesting process the last 4 or 5 years. So, as another aside, my older son, who's pretty sharp, and he's a still photographer as well as an advertising photographer. At one point, a couple of years ago, we were talking about what the hell my kids are going to do with all this stuff when I'm gone. And I asked him how he was going to handle all this, and he said, "Well, I don't know. I guess I'd take a few things, keep a few things, and offer some to the friends and whatever the other kids wanted, and then I'd shit can it." So every couple of months, when I sell another $3,000 or $4,000 of something, I make sure I let him know as the numbers keep rising what he was going to shit can.
That's great.
Jack, it's really interesting to me that you said the last 4 or 5 years, because Matt knows this. Craig, I haven't known as long, so this will be something new to Craig, I guess. But I've been personally trying to learn your name for about 4 or 5 years, because as it stands, you were kind of previously unknown to us, and as Craig touched on, there's not a lot out there for Ghostbusters 2 in regard to behind the scenes. But there's a piece that you did specifically that I've been desperate to know who was responsible for, and I want to go ahead and share that with you right now, because to me this is the just the most amazing thing, and I don't know if you all can see that.
Yep.
Are we seeing it? So Jack, I told you before, we lovingly refer to this painting as the fettuccinis from the end of Ghostbusters 2. It's a unique drawing. It comes as a big surprise at the end of the movie, because it's not where you expect to see Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie, with a harp. So, I know we have a lot of fans who are going to be interested in this piece and kind of the genesis of it. It's very religious, and that probably ties into the themes of the movie. But I just wanted to hear you talk a little bit about this. For my own satisfaction, but also for the satisfaction of hundreds and thousands of fans out there. Can you tell us a little bit about this piece?
Yeah, I did send you a better shot of this. Somewhere you got an attachment, which I think this was a terrible shot as far as time of day and reflections and so forth. But this was, as far as I know, a Bo Welch idea. It's something he got out of the script that I don't think it was that specific, but what he came to me and he wanted a semi-religious period looking painting that was not necessarily realistic. I think I found an old painting, God knows what century it was, that had this sort of curved feeling over the top. And I just went from there. I don't know where I found the damn palm trees or whatever. But I was scared to death because, and you saw the rough for this thing, trying to do 4 faces and match the actual faces of the guys was all, yeah, that's better. Was very very difficult because they're so familiar with everybody. But at least I was supplied shots. And the baby was another problem, as we've discussed before, that the baby was repainted. I don't know whether that had anything to do with Bo or the director or whoever. But then there were other minor changes with a hand here and a leaf there and so on. But typically, I didn't feel I had enough time. So this winds up being very inconsistent. The faces are obviously rendered to the nth degree. The figures are not rendered as much, and the background is even less rendered. So from a painter's opinion, this is not a very good painting. But knowing in the business, you sometimes are stuck with it. You just don't have enough time. And the other side of that coin is if you give somebody like an illustrator enough 2 weeks to do a job, he'll do it in 2 weeks. You give him 3 days, he'll do it in 3 days. But you want as much time as you can steal. And I think the renderings of the faces are, yes, they're pretty good to relate to. I think on the let's see, it would be Peter or Bill Murray's face. The eyes are out of proportion. And the right eye. Anyway, you get my meaning. As an illustrator, I can go in there and find every damn thing that's wrong with it. And it's not that I'm looking for praise or somebody say, "Oh no, it's wonderful." It's just the reality of it, and you can't get away from it. And of course, to look back now and see fingers that are a little too long and shadows that aren't right, and it just. It's unfortunate, but it was a hell of a fun project that scared me to death.
Jack, everything you're highlighting, as somebody who's not an artist, obviously, these are things that I would never pick up on. I find this image, there are some differences from the final image, but there's something very charming and just very real and like. Just taking a step back and actually like looking at it for what it is. And there's a element of like seriousness and obviously a lot of silliness too. So I just appreciate it so much. How big, so for the original piece that you're submitting, how big of a painting is it, to give people some perspective on that?
It's 20 inches high by 14 and a half inches wide. And Thomas and I have decided to make it, as far as a print, offering 50% larger. So it'll be more like 30 inches high by 22 inches wide.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I dabble in collecting art prints and screen prints, and I think there's going to be a nice size audience of people who are really going to want this, and I know it's going on my wall. So I appreciate you giving Tom the opportunity to partner up on that, because that is
Okay.
I've got every history of Ghostbusters book, visual art book, making of book, and when Tom reached out to me, I said, holy shit, I have never seen this. And I've reached out to a couple people who I would consider Ghostbusters archivalists, and they have no idea that the stuff even exists. So it's very, very cool.
It's sometimes irritating that somebody like me is not called or considered when you do the making of. And I don't know, I guess it depends on who's generating the idea that, oh, this is a fantastic film, we need to do the making of, since they don't do it on every film. But quite often, illustrators, many of whom help really create these films, aren't involved. And it's funny, Thomas mentioned Superman Lives as to the nightmare that went through that film. And I again, maybe because I'd retired, maybe because I live 3 hours from LA, there were at least three illustrators that had something to say about it, but I was never called or considered or anything else, which is too bad, because I had some rather violent things to say about it. But I've never seen it. I've never seen I have a script. I have a script on every film I've worked on, which again is another story. But when you say you have a script, in some cases, there may be 30 or 40 versions. And there is certainly a first script and a last script, which I think it'd probably really be important if you had both. But at any rate, yeah.
Jack, is that to suggest that you have an early Ghost 2 draft?
I don't know. I got maybe 70 scripts in a closet in boxes, and I did go through them, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm sure I have at least one script on Goonies, but I have no idea at what point that script is.
Well, if that Ghostbusters 2 script turns up, I think everybody on this call would be very interested in that.
Yeah.
We did talk about Superman Lives a little yesterday. This is my script for Superman Lives. If you can see that, I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I can.
It's always fascinated me, the genesis of this. I told you it interests me because the idea of Nicolas Cage as Superman is just kind of off the wall, I guess. It's really interesting.
Well, if you consider the bodysuit he was going to wear, it made it all more possible. And a little side thing on that, he wanted that movie made so badly. He was willing to do just about anything to get it made, but the war that went on was that film was never going to get made.
Yeah, what an incredible story. So much goes into getting a film off the ground in the first place, but to know that they were a couple weeks out from cameras and the whole thing got shut down, that's pretty amazing. I did want to chime in with one thing before you guys touch on anything else. I watch Independence Day like once a month, always have. It's one of the all-time great sci-fi classics. So maybe a separate conversation down the line. I would love to see anything you contributed, because I think it really stands alone as just really good popcorn sci-fi, and it totally holds up. And the sequel is really bad. so I'm glad you worked on the first one.
I have to admit that that shouldn't even be on my resume. If you can stand another 2 minutes story,
Sure.
Can you handle it?
I think so.
I was hired, and I think I was the first illustrator on the film. They were going to hire 4, I believe. There was a director, a young production supervisor or a executive. He must have been about 25. And there was a secretary and maybe one other person. I took the script. I spent 10 minutes talking about it with the director. I was going to do opening scenes, and we were just talking storyboards. So at Fox, there's a building with an upstairs and a stairway coming up to a veranda where I had my drafting table, and I was working. And all of a sudden, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. These people showed up and started taking seats and drinking coffee and having donuts. And it started to get a little louder. And this guy comes up the stairway in torn jeans and a t-shirt and sort of. Everything got quiet, and he said a few things. Anyway, it got louder. 2 guys came by, bumped my drafting table, and I said, "Hey," and I yelled it, "Hey, could you guys go into your meeting or keep it quiet?" And this guy comes over and leans on my drafting table, and he looks at me, and he says, "Do you know who?" It was a classic. "Do you know who I am?" Well, he turned out to be the John, now I can't remember his last name, but he's a big guy with a big name and a lot of big films. And anyway, he started with, "Well, why can't you come in later, or why can't you do?" And I said, "Hey, I'm just trying to work here." And I leaned back in his face because I could see he was putting on a show for these people that were working on his film, whatever that was. And so it was a standoff, and he had made his point about how important he was. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, this young executive calls and would like me to come down to his office. And so I go down there, and he says, "You know, we are sorry. We just really didn't. We thought we were going to. In other words, we don't need you anymore." And I said, "Well, I'll be glad to finish the work for the day." And he said, No, I think and finally I said, "Can you really look at me and say that with a straight face that it had nothing to do with that little performance upstairs?" And he said, "Oh, no, it had nothing to do with it." Anyway, it's the first time I'd ever been fired. I made a couple of phone calls, and I had 2 offers to start the next day on other films. So I basically didn't give a shit. But it's really unfortunate because I would have loved to finish that film. And I know it would have grown into more than just storyboards, but such is war. Sorry, I can't tell you more good stories about it.
No, that's great. That's a great story. That's a great story. I'm trying to piece together who that would have been. Because I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy that happened to you.
I wish I'm having trouble remembering the director that he worked for. He was his top guy.
Gotcha.
Jim Cameron. It was Jim Cameron's executive producer.
Well, that makes all the more sense.
John what was his last name? Or if I got that wrong.
Oh, man. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
So, we have one other Ghostbusters 2 topic to touch on. Before we do, Matt, Craig, do you want to pick Jack's brain on any of his other works? I know Lost Boys, Beetlejuice. He's involved in so many of these things, Jack, and I know it's interesting to a lot of us beyond this conversation?
Not specifically. I just appreciate the entire body of work, and I'm so happy to be able to see some of this stuff from some of my favorite movies. It's very, very cool.
I'm in the same boat. There's just so much of this stuff. I just wish, Jack, that we could somehow put together a book of all your stuff that everyone could see all the pieces that you've worked on. Because I would just love to sit through and look at all the stuff you worked on for all the movies that we've discussed so far.
Did you guys all see the poster
with all your works?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent that to the group.
Okay, so that obviously gives you a vague idea of pieces of other films. I've been trying to write a book for the last 3 years. I think visually I'm probably 3/4 of the way through it. I'm not a writer. I have a writer friend, and we're trying to work together, but I have been trying to sell my property and working a lot more on the property to get it to where I think it needs to be. So our writing the last 6 months to a year has been minimal, but I hope that within a year I can publish that book. I have probably 30 or 40 spreads of the movies that I've already at least roughed out visually with copy. I suppose I could send you a couple of examples that would at least give you an idea where I'm going with it. But yes, I hope. And if I'd been smarter about this, I would have the book done a few years ago, and I think it would have a great deal to do with the value of the stuff you guys are talking about.
Very cool.
That's fantastic. I think we'll all be looking forward to that and hosting a book signing for you when it's released.
Cool.
There you go.
Okay.
We're going to be offering 4 prints to our members and to the community at large. We've touched on 3 of them. I want to touch on this last print before we let you get back to your day, Jack. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. This one, when I saw your work, Jack, when you shared all those with me, this one to me stood out as just kind of mind-blowing in how beautiful it is and how accurate they got it. What we're looking at here is the infamous River of Slime, the Van Horn pneumatic transit. Even seeing, we know immediately what we're looking at. We know that's Dan Aykroyd dangling there beneath 4th Avenue. I know I definitely want to hear a little bit about this. Can you share some of your experiences working on this piece?
Sure. It was supposed to be an undiscovered old, I'm thinking, anyway, we had some research on this type of ceiling and walls, the curved, the way the tiles fit in, and of course nothing exactly from the angle we wanted. A lot of the piping and all that stuff is ad lib, but the angle or the curve down that path of slime was made up. And I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to project something that looked right as far as the stairway coming down into an area and then the arches overhead. It was a hell of a time-consuming, difficult illustration. And as I mentioned before, there are always things wrong with it when you look back. But when I was trying to make that flashlight work, I didn't airbrush anything, and so it's kind of amateurish. But for the purpose of selling it again, that was going to be a set, and it was going to be so big and so tall, etc. I think we did a hell of a job with it.
I have to say, Jack, this is probably my favorite piece that I've seen. I love the detail, and I love that you're modest about your abilities, because I think this is absolutely stunning and beautiful, far from amateurish. And again, I think I can speak for all of us that this has been an absolute treat spending time with you today and learning about your work on Ghostbusters and so many other films that we have grown up and loved. And in a very real way, you helped design and bring to reality the films that we grew up on and everything that we've enjoyed. And so thank you so much for using your gifts and your ability and your talents to bring to life some of our favorite movies and franchises and stories. And I don't think we can thank you enough for your time and your willingness to sign some stuff and make these prints available to all of us. We greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, just to comment on that last piece, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, the River of Slime, that the whole Van Horn, abandoned train station, like that's the iconography that we all remember from that movie. And to see it kind of in that landscape, if you really look at it, it's really insane. Like the detail of that piece, every brick is there.
Almost every brick. Yeah.
It's really incredible. So, and I'll echo Matt's words. Thanks for doing this.
Okay. Thank you.
And Craig, I see a spot on your wall over there to the right where that would fit perfectly, I think.
Oh, I've got there's a bunch of Ghostbusters stuff behind me. So, there's always room for more stuff on the wall, and I can't wait to get my hands on this stuff.
Great.
So any closing thoughts here? I'll just thank you as well, Jack. You and I, we've been talking for a while. You're such a delight to speak with. I've really enjoyed all of our conversations. You're just one of the nicest folks in the business that we've had the pleasure of meeting and speaking with. And personally, I'm just blown away by your art. I'm so grateful that through happenstance we came together. I think this is going to be a really exciting opportunity for the fandom. It's definitely an opportunity for me. I'm already making space for these things, and it's really, really.
Oh, thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, just one last chime in for me, just to think that was 1989. It looks like you worked on it in 88. And then it was supposed to be this year, but it's now going to be early next year. So 32 years later, we're getting a sequel. Ghostbusters is back in a big way. And this kind of stuff really adds to that excitement.
Good. I'm looking forward to the relationship.
We all are as well.
All right.
Okay. Well, Matt, any closing thoughts?
I'm good. This has been a treat.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much.